the kill switch on automobiles coming to a car near you in the future. So this is something that is really not being talked about much at all, and it is possibly one of the most damning things I've ever seen, quite honestly, when it comes to your freedom, your privacy. Many of the most awful, worst things to come about in human history have been because of good intentions. They start off with good intentions, and there's many different quotes and cliches about that. But there's these articles, and I'll link to one of them here, about in 2026 talking about putting a kill switch in cars. Now, I just recently started hearing about this kill switch. An electric car, could be, whatever, hacked. It could be tapped into somehow. A lot of the Tesla cars, I'm not an expert on Tesla, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I know a lot of the Tesla cars, or all of them, send data to Tesla. And they're sending data. So somehow they're connected on a network, on a centralized network of some sort. And the moral of this story is there couldn't be, like I said, a more egregious door attack surface area to your freedom, your wealth, your privacy, your movement, freedom of movement, than something like this. Quite honestly, just maybe electric cars in general. And that's a story for a topic for a different day. Maybe some of you that know more and study more up on it can let me know, but seems pretty damning going forward. And the kill switch, just in general, whether that could be an electric car or it's a combustion engine or whatever it might be, the fact that this could even be remotely considered, this is the thing. We talk about all the time here. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trusting but verifying, asking why. Do we truly think? Look at the Patriot Act, right? Patriot Act. Wow, can't talk. Patriot Act, for example. You have legislation that literally has just completely morphed over the years to now targeting American citizens left and right. Whether it was Obama drone striking American citizens and killing them without due process, whether it's certain groups of races and ethnicities, voting blocks now targeted in America by their own government. Can we honestly sit here as a sane, honest, logical person? Can you, as an adult, sit here and say, I don't think this kill switch in a car will ever be used for with malintent or with some purpose 20 years from now when some person gets into power and wants to cause harm. It'll never be used that way. There's no one ever. I, in good conscience, can't ever say that. You can't put that trust into a person's hands, in humans' hands, unfortunately. Again, this is why we talk about immutable, uncensorable money, because that then starts to heal all these things down the river here, these second, third downriver effects, knock-on effects, second, third order, fourth order effects, and these are what we're living in right now. We have such massive problems in front of us when it comes to money, when it comes to privacy, when it comes to spying on citizens, central bank digital currencies, things of that nature. We have so much coming up, like AI, virtual reality, right, deepfakes. We have so much right in front of us that I honestly don't know if the average person can even comprehend what's coming at us. We talked about many times, the Founding Fathers talking about this experiment that is America. Only a good, virtuous people can be successful in this experiment. I'm paraphrasing, but these are the founders' sentiments, talking about what kind of people are needed to run this. We have to have a level of trust. And when you have government that, and people might say, hey, Brandon, you're not very trusting. You should have let it play out. We've let it play out. We're 250 years into this experiment. What has happened over the last couple of years alone? I'm not going to put in the other last 245 years, or the last 250 years, or whatever it might be. The last 3 years, people, they couldn't even tell you the truth about whether a mask was good to put on or not. And literally said, well, yeah, we couldn't trust, The trust is completely gone from government. Now, again, this is another story about whether this was done purposely or not, but it doesn't matter. At this point, we have to deal with the facts, where we are with what we've been given. And rulers cannot be trusted. Rules can be trusted. And that's why there's such a large segment of the society, a large growing segment of the society that wants to trust in mathematical code, in digital stone that can't be changed by a man or by a woman, depending on who's in power or what political party is in power. Immutable law set in digital stone that cannot be changed. this is just another one of those examples. There's just such a litany of things, whether it's the Patriot Act, whether it was you can keep your doctor if you like them, or it's going to lower your health insurance premiums. We had to pass the bill before we could read what was in it. Afghanistan, mission accomplished, pulling out of Afghanistan. I mean, just a million things, and media covering up for things left, right, front, and center. This is the problem of the day. It's the lack of trust. And until you have rules and frameworks in place that actually will support and aid in trusting the society we live in and the framework we live in the laws, we don't even follow the laws. We don't even follow the rule of law in the society. The people at the top don't, the politicians. So what makes those elected leaders, quote unquote, if they're not doing it, then what's going to make the people below them follow those rules? We're in a time that tries men's souls, period. What are we going to do? My question again, in ending this, is a kill switch in an automobile. It's all with a good intention. Well, it's going to help with drunk driving, things like that. Well, again, I thought that's what autonomous cars were for. That was going to help us. Why do we need a kill switch if the autonomous cars are going to take care of this stuff eventually? And again, under the guise of, if we're just save one person, if we just get rid of your guns and put all these laws in place and universal background checks and numbering everything, and if it just saves one person, yet we're over here aborting and killing 1 million children a year in their own mother. No one bats an eye. We're not going to arm the schools. We're not going to train people in personal responsibility. We're not going to train people with firearms like we do a car or a boat or things like that. A thing to actually defend yourself, a right enshrined in the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment. We're not going to do that. We're going to try to take that from you. What are we doing? Where are we in this story right now? And I think that's what we need to ask ourselves. Why in the world would we ever trust someone putting a kill switch in a car that can shut you off, that can shut down your movement if government or someone is coming after you for whatever reason and you can't get away, you have no movement. I mean, our brains in America can't even comprehend this concept that we could just be shut off and you can't go anywhere when you want to. That is coming to a car near you in a few years if we don't stand and voice our opinions, vote with our wallet, and cast light on the darkness. We are entering an unbelievable time where society, in my opinion, lacks a great amount of virtue, ethics, morality, and is going to decide many of these things. And it's incumbent on the good, honest, decent people to stand up and shed light on the darkness so that the majority of people can see what is going on and how they have been brainwashed and how they have been hoodwinked to make the necessary change. Because whether it's AI or the electric cars or the money we're using and on and on and on, the wars we keep getting into, the good people must stand up. And that doesn't mean revolution. It means voicing your opinion, voting with your feet, voting with your wallet, voting with that voice of yours, and putting out content, talking to neighbors, talking to family, and steady, holding fast in truth. Period. In quite honestly, common sense and first principles. Because again, these things rooted in good intention, but when you have centralized governments, it is necessary for it to become less and less about the human, the individual, and more about the collective, because people just become numbers once you get further and further away from the local person you're dealing with. And that's just necessary, and that's why the Founding Fathers of America set up the United States the way they did purposely, because they knew that very fact. And again, it's not that there's a bunch of evil people trying to do evil things. Generally not. There are some evil people, obviously in government or in all areas of life, but it's because of the behemoth of the entity that just continues growing, because it's so big and because it gets so far away from the actual root problem and the actual location of the problem, that it can't give actual guidance or it can't give actual help. And that's not the government's job in the first place, to give help. The government is there to uphold the rule of law and protect the freedom as enshrined in our founding documents, to protect the rights endowed by our Creator. Government's there instituted among men and work at the consent of the governed to protect those rights. Period. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. And we have some scary things on our horizon that our children and our grandchildren will never look at us directly in our eye the same again if we cannot stand up and protect truth, freedom, and liberty now. The easiest day is now, and every day we wait, it's harder and harder. So please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify. And this is not financial advice. It is freedom advice. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.